old school versus new school leadership. So welcome to our leadership session. I'm Nikki Marit, still the CEO of IBTC, and with me I've got Patrick Matiza, the Regional Business Manager of IBTC, my co-presenter and E2 lecturer.
Hi everybody, I'm looking forward to a life-changing session.
Patrick, I'm curious why people would attend this session. Aren't people tired of leadership courses yet?
No, Nikki, you know what? There are so many leadership courses and presentations that are out there. And most of them, they contain your standard time management, stress management, and how to delegate for success. Also, how to give performance appraisal feedback and how to manage people performance. These are great topics, Nikki, and also the skills which are acquired if you don't have them yet. But Nikki, what makes this session really different and life-changing is that it clearly shows how the world of work has changed and how your leadership need to adapt to the new way of working.
That's right, Patrick. Managers and leaders, I often feel, they're often just plodding along. They're often not great at delegating or managing stress or time management or developing the people around them, the people reporting to them. And of late, it has become more and more understood that culture and people set your business apart. You know, I always say in a highly commoditized environment where everybody's products and services start looking alike, the thing that sets you apart is your service. So a company can win through its service, and service, really good, remarkably good service that really wows you, that wow service comes from culture and not from processes and procedures.
And you know, Nikki, it might be that people might actually be questioned to say, but what does culture has to do with leadership? Leaders are the ones that create culture. You know, they create an environment in which people can be able to operate in. They create great teams, and there's a win-win conversations, and they help people to thrive during times of uncertainty. This is the leaders who are set for the tone, who actually they set the tone of the organization.
Yeah, I think that's spot on, Patrick. Leaders do indeed set the tone for the organization. So, okay, so on to our topic. It's old school leadership versus new age leadership. And we're going to look at three things, and it's three of my favorite topics that we all squish together. The one is new age leadership. Why do we need new leadership? Level 5 leadership. Some of you might be familiar with it. It comes from Good to Great. And then my favorite, and where the train story comes in, is grit.
All right, let's kick off with the new age leadership. I think we start with the basic question, Nikki. What is leadership? Am I a leader? Am I even a good leader? I've been a leader for so long. Why is it not that I'm not good enough anymore? You know what, Nick, I'm actually curious in terms of today's attendees is to ask them in terms of the question that is usually asked. Are leaders born or are they made? Let's see on the chat function. What do you think? Are leaders born or they are made? Let's see on the chat function.
Yes, everybody must please put it in the chat because I can't put it in the chat because then you'll all follow me. Are leaders born or are they made? What do you say? There's no right or wrong. We're going to tell you what the answer is anyway.
Good.
They're made, born and made. I like it. They are made. They're made. They're born. They're made. Both. They can be born and made. Kanisa, that's right. Leaders are made by experience. Leaders are born but can be developed. Fantastic, Ahmed. Okay, I like that. I like that. I also like what Catherine Adenle says in her blog, Leadership New Age versus Old School. She says, so we talk about what is leadership, and she says, for me, leadership means that you have the proven capability to take groups of people and make them greater collectively than they are individually. It also means that you have the ability to inspire others to achieve more than they could have without your guidance. Patrick, can you think of someone who's inspired you to enable you to achieve more than you would have on your own?
There is this other lady that I came across. Is the CEO of IBTC. Her name is Nikki Marines.
Patrick, you're so funny. You know what? The story about somebody changing somebody else's life. So a leader inspiring somebody to be more than they thought they could be. Patrick, were you in yesterday's session in the panel discussion with Cal?
No.
Okay.
Was there something that was shared?
Cal works for I forgot now, Rumble in Copenhagen, and a Danish company, and he told this heart-wrenching story yesterday in the session, in the 6 o'clock session. He said he had a very rough upbringing, or a very challenging upbringing. There are 3 sons and a single mom, and some days they didn't know where their next meal is going to come from. And when he thought about his life, he thought he will probably always work in a shop in Chelsea. And then he met a South African woman. So he's South Africans are now his favorite people, and she inspired him to do SEMA. And he says she never got her SEMA, and she felt that a lot of doors would have opened for her if she was a CGMA. So she really pushed him and said, study this, come on, stick with it, become qualified. And he's sitting there and he says, look at me now. I'm a CGMA, I'm advising senior management, I'm living this life that I never thought I would be able to do. And for that, she inspired him to do more than what he thought he was capable of doing. Now, it also reminds me, Patrick, of, I know we need to move on, but we have a saying at IBTC where we say, surround yourself with people who believe in you more than you do until you do. And that is that woman that changed the world for Cal Ali from Rumble. Thank you, Sharissa. Excellent. So where are we now?
Good. So comes the question that comes to say, am I a natural born leader? We often feel that in terms of being a leader, you need to be born a leader, or at least maybe drawn to leadership, or what they usually say, at least have a leaderly position. We think of leadership as a title that has to be deserved or that has to be earned. But you know what? Leaders are rarely, if ever, born. If we have to isolate the factor that creates leaders, it's probably some combination of what? Circumstance and persistence. So we are often followers who are done what? We are forced into leadership by chance. And you know what then happens? We then discover that we could be good at it. Many leaders, they actually walk amongst us in all kinds of people, places, and positions. Some of the greatest leaders that you ever met aren't even aware that of their own leadership.
So Patrick, what does leadership look like to you?
You know, for me, Nikki, leaders are open-minded. They seek out other people's opinion. If people are drawn to you because you're open to other people's opinions, you are a leader. You know, it makes me to think of e-wallet, the one where you send money to the phone. It was a suggestion that a staff member at FNB had. And the CEO, Michael Jordan, was open-minded to actually take the suggestion. And it has taken FNB to higher levels.
Yeah, it's interesting to see all the things that FNB is doing. I also feel, Patrick, that a leader also offers advice and counsel. So for all of you who are attending, if you find yourself advising your colleagues and your friends are asking you for counsel, and if people seem to seek you out and they value what you say, then typically your empathy is quite strong and your perspective has real world usefulness to those around you. And so if you often help those around you navigate through rough patches, then you are a leader. And then another element of leadership is if people can count on you. So if people can rely on you, it follows that they trust you to follow through and deliver on your promises. If you if you hold yourself accountable and you demonstrate the kind of day in and day out responsibility that leads others to trust you, then you are already a leader.
Also, Nikki, a leader, you have to be a good listener. And if you find people confiding in you, then you are a leader. It makes me to think of what one person once said in terms of the part that we have got 2 ears and 1 mouth. They said that means that we need to listen as twice as much as we talk. And research has actually shown that people listen to put their point across. So we as leaders, we need to learn, practice active listening, which is listening to understand.
Patrick, one of my favorite sayings is, I learned it from Sean, a consultant with us, who said, if you seek to be understood, first aim to understand. And that's often made me, then I try to explain something to someone and they're not getting it. And I think, oh, actually, I must shut up and just listen. And that often changes everything.
Yes, I remember that one from Sean. And if you understand that listening is more important than speaking, and if people know they can confide in you, you know what? You are a leader. Mm-hmm. Also, in terms of leaders, they follow your example. The most powerful form of leadership isn't persuasion. No. It's not argument. No, it's not force, but it's example. So it's more do as I do, not do as I say. We need to walk the talk. So whether times are good or bad, people notice who is present, who is effective, who is working hard without any distraction. When that person is you, where others naturally follow you, do you know what? You are a leader. Leaders, they've got a positive attitude. They are positive. They are optimistic. They make people around them happy. They say a positive attitude is contagious. It's more like some people, they say the glass is half empty, but optimistic people say what? It's half full. It's all about how you view life. It's more like that issue of what? 6 and 9. It's where you are looking at. The others, they see a 6, you see a 9. So if you find yourself that you are grumpy and you are mourning, then in terms of leadership, you might not be a leader. So we need a positive outlook that doesn't blind you to problems or issues, but it allows you to seek out something good in almost every situation. If you see yourself being able to spread that optimism, you are a leader.
It's a little bit that golden lining, silver lining around a dark cloud. The other one of my favorites, Patrick, is you cannot be a leader without respect. I feel very strongly about it. I think that knowledge gives you power and being smart may give you an advantage. But when you give respect, you will always receive respect in return. And I really honestly believe that everybody deserves respect. Every single person. Respect isn't earned. That's trust. Respect is a given. We must first and foremost respect everybody. And that's leadership for me. And leaders also genuinely care about others. So if you spend your time supporting and guiding and sharing your knowledge with those around you, Gary, I got a applause from Gary. Thank you. If you see that you care about others' well-being and you help others attain success, it's key. You help those around you, then you are a leader. Patrick, any other attributes you can think of?
Yes, Nikki. Leaders, they are confident and passionate in what they do. It has to reminds me about this story about what? David and Goliath in that result. It comes from, and confidence, where it comes from past successes in the battle that are there. You know what David said when he was going to Goliath? He remembers the time that he killed what? The lion, he killed the bear with his bare hands. And then he said, when it's going to Goliath, it's an easy one. So if we have actually managed to defeat the big giant, which is COVID, my leader, I've come today to tell you that you are a leader. Yes, we can be able to do this.
So everybody here can actually weigh themselves against these straight and reconsider what you think you know and recognize yourself for the leader you may really be. So what is the leader and how to recognize a leader? Why do we need new leadership, Patrick?
So, Nikki, what's really happening is that the world has changed, Nikki. And there's a new way of working that has emerged because of digital transformation, the fast track, which has been fast tracked by the pandemic. Yes, because the pandemic actually forced us into it. Just to think of how the work has changed today. I think first and foremost, you can look at the part that people are now, by and large, working remotely, more like working from home. And now we have got virtual teams. On my side, now I'm sitting in Sandton. I know Nikki, my CEO, you're sitting in Cape Town. I see also Charissa is also on the platform. She's sitting in France. So you see, this is what technology has actually done. It has collapsed the distances in that regard. I'm happy to know where are we also sitting within the people that are on the platform. Let's see on the chat function. Where are you actually logging in from in that regard? Also, Nikki, what has changed is the part of the self-managed team. So we take responsibility to get the job done, and we need little supervision. We operate with autonomy. So now it has become more fluid. We have now what we call cross-functional teams that assemble around a specific project. There is a lot of collaboration that is happening. You know, I started to think of Telco Mobile versus Vodacom. For those that are sitting in South Africa that uses Telco Mobile, when you go in areas, you might have seen, in areas where Telco Mobile doesn't have network, it registers as what? Vodacom. That's collaboration. That's what leaders are now doing in that regard. So we work across different reporting lines and also functions. And the keynote for us to see is where now power lies. You know what now happens? We now share power, which is what we call servant leadership. Things are just way more democratic than they have ever been. That's what the world now looks like, Nikki.
It's that democratization of power, eh?
Correct.
So that's what the new world looks like. So if I look at the old way of working, I don't know how many of you remember this, and I had a previous life, and in that life we worked in silos, and there was strong corporate hierarchy, and your manager made all the decisions. And he or she had a fixed group of people reporting to him or her, and the group wasn't fluid like it is today. There was also absolute authority, and you needed the leader's approval for every action. The power was really held at the top of the pyramid. So there was total dominance of power, and that power was also over information, and we kept information away from others. So it was quite secretive. It was an autocratic environment. We refer to it now as command and control structures. It's a little bit like the picture you see on your screen, and I'm the one in the red tie. So can you see how traditional leadership skills no longer fit the contemporary workplace? We're still teaching leaders how to command a room and how to delegate tasks, but a new age really demands new leadership. It demands the informal leader.
That's true.
So Patrick, do you chat to us about the new leadership a little bit?
Good. Thanks, Nikki. You know what, Nikki? The top skills that lead up to 2025, they include analytical thinking, innovation, complex problem solving, leadership, and social influence. What they did at, I'll give an example of Google. What they did at Google is that they found the 8 top behaviors or competencies that they need their managers to have. So I think by and large, the first one would be technical ability, because you have to know how to do your job. And they rate it amongst the top 8. But 5 of the top 6, they relate to what? Relationship between manager and their team. That's where you see that CIMA is quite relevant. You see on the competence framework, one of it is what? The part of communication skills. Being a good coach, being able to empower your team, helping them in their development, being a good communicator, expressing an interest in the success of well-being of your team in that regard. So here we start seeing the part of the new leader emerging in that regard. Quite important, Nikki, is the part of innovations. Innovation is not all about getting the job done. No. But it's also about finding ways of getting the job done better and faster in that regard.
It's really about a manager who reinvents a process, eh? The manager that doesn't make sure just the job gets done, but to think, oh, is it done as efficiently as possible?
Correct. And you know what, Nikki? Gone are the days where only managers could be leaders. We see leaders that are emerging at all levels of the organization.
Leadership has been democratized, just like power. Power and leadership all democratized, and it all now belongs to the people, eh?
Correct, Nikki. You find that the new leader empowers others and has decentralized decision making. You or she doesn't need to hang onto the power anymore. So the new leader has got empathy, has got appetite for continuous learning. You see, from time to time, a lot of organizations, they've got processes that they do, that on a yearly basis, they review the processes to really see what is it in terms of the best practices that they are bringing in, which is new, and better ways in what they can actually be able to do. Finally, very important, the characteristic of the new leader is what? Mental strength. We talk of resilience. We talk of the ability to deal with uncertainty and change, just like what has been happening during this COVID era, that it has been a lot of uncertainty, but leaders that have got mental strength have been on the top of the game. Resilience, Nikki, is so important. The pandemic, I think we can't speak more of it. It has helped us to realize that we don't know answers to everything. And therefore, we just have to admit at times that what? That I don't know in that regard. People, they come to you as a finance person and they ask, what is going to be the impact of what has happened? The truth sometimes, Nikki, is we just don't know, because we are in an era of uncertainty.
And also, I think, Patrick, with the leaders, a big thing for me is a leader has a responsibility to its team, and you must also help your team to be resilient and have high mental strength. And how you help your team with that, how you help your team operate in times of uncertainty is that you have to let them feel empowered. And you also have to show them that there's a certain support mechanism. And that really helps them to embrace a certain amount of resilience. If it's physical resilience or mental resilience or social resilience. And it's not easy because people deal with things in different ways. But I think having empathy for staff is probably one of the greatest qualities that you can get. And unfortunately, that's not taught in many books, eh?
True. True. I think they say experience is the best teacher.
I think it's especially true in today's circumstances in which we are working virtually. We need to adapt to this new world as fast as possible. Maybe the people on this platform want to pick 1 or 2 characteristics that you see, that you feel that you want to develop, that you want to focus on this year. So if we say these are characteristics of leaders in the digital age, what do you think you can work on? Pick 1, and then pick 3 or 4, because it's really effective if you think this is the one that I'm going to focus on. in the next year? Patrick, which one is true for you?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, Nikki. Let me see.
I don't have to work on democratizing power because I think I've always been very happy to share all kinds of power. I could maybe work on my empathy a bit.
For me, I think I'll go for innovation and appetite for continuous learning.
Okay. Lawrence also has innovation. Yeah,
yes.
Nice. Okay. So we cannot talk about leadership without talking about level 5 leadership. It is one of my best topics. It's my second best. My best one is grit, which comes straight after this. So we've discussed what makes a new leader. And I cannot talk about leadership without talking about level 5 leadership. Level 5 leadership is a concept developed by Jim Collins. I don't know who of you are familiar with it. It's in his classic book, Good to Great. If you haven't read it, it's the one book everybody must read. They analyzed 1,435 companies over a 40-year period to find companies that has been very good for a long time, and then suddenly they've just been very good for a long time, and suddenly they transformed into great companies and sustained it. So after 1,435 companies that they followed, they found 11 that have gone from good to great. And all 11 had the same type of leader. Now, isn't that interesting? It's not Richard Branson, it's not Elon Musk, it's someone like Darwin Smith, who nobody knows about. He turned Kimberly Clark around. It's not those names that ring a bell, it's the people that we don't know. And I recognize that you might not be the CEO or the MD of your organization at the top of the chain and responsible for the greatness of your organization, but you can still be a leader. You can be a leader at any level, and looking at the level 1 to 5 descriptors, we can see where we are ourselves, and we can see what we need to do to go to the next level. Okay, so as I said, at the 11 companies, they found that they're all at the same type of leader. He names this type of leader a level 5 leader. And I'm going to chat you through this, and you can see where you can pitch yourself. So then, I actually just found my annotating tool. I feel stupid now for earlier, I don't know why I forgot that I had this. Where is my annotator? Okay, so at a level 1 leader, you have a highly capable individual. Okay, so there are people that are really good. Let's admit this person. They're people who are really good at what they do. They contribute using their skills, their know-how, they've got good work habits. They are good at what they do, and they contribute by doing a good job. Then level 2 leadership, you find the contributing team member. Okay, so you've got a contributing team member here. And these are people who are able to use their skills and knowledge to help their team succeed. Okay, they are good at what they do and also contribute to the success of the team. Level 3 leadership is the competent manager. The third level of leadership, these are managers capable of organizing their team to efficiently reach predetermined objectives. So you are here, you can say, guys, this week we're going to make so many sales, or we're going to hit these and these targets, or these are the things that we're going to do, and you can lead your team towards these goals. You are then a competent manager, and you are a level 3. You are then at level 3. You can make the team work towards predetermined objectives. Level 4 leadership, the effective leader, the penultimate level of leadership is effective leader. It's the level at which the majority of leaders can be found. They are able to create a commitment to pursue a clear and compelling vision. Now I've got a vision, and I can say, this is the vision, this is the picture of the future, and you can lead this whole team towards that vision. So it's not clear goals anymore, it's an image of the future. They are able to create a commitment to pursue this compelling vision. They're able to create a high-performing team, and they contribute by inspiring the team so that the team wants to achieve the vision of the future. So that's great. What is a level 5 leader? At level 5, you have all the abilities needed for the other levels, plus you have a unique blend of humility and will. And that is what you need for true greatness. You might think, really, is that the answer? Is it humility and will? It is. They studied 1,435 companies. The thing that distinguishes you, the thing that takes you from level 4 to level 5 is humility and will. Note that you don't have to work sequentially through all the levels to become a level 5 leader. Level 5 leaders have the ability of all the other 4 levels, plus a unique combination of being strong-willed yet humble. It is this combination of will and humility that makes them great. It also sets them apart from all the other levels. Okay, so what defines level 5 leaders and sets them apart is, let me just see if I can get rid, if I can delete, erase. I just want to erase this picture. Okay, and let you ponder upon that for a moment. Okay. A level 5 leader, they call it the paradox or the duality. They are ambitious, but they're not ambitious for themselves. They're ambitious for the organization to excel rather than themselves. And despite their ambition, they are modest about what they personally contribute. Okay, that's the counterculture. I really want to achieve this for the organization, but I'm going to be modest about my role in that. And then the level 5 leader is driven. They are fanatically driven to produce exceptional results on a sustainable basis. The key word here is sustainable. Their drive isn't short-lived, and neither are the results that they seek. So it's not a quick win they are after, but sustainable achievement. Leaders really also build successes. And the successes they build, they want those successes to be more successful than they are. And this is in stark contrast to a level 4 leader. Sometimes a level 4 leader will set up their successor to fail just so that it makes them look better. And then watch out for this one. A level 5 leader shares praise. They share the praise amongst the team when things go well. And what do they do when things go wrong? They take the blame. They are happy to take the blame when things go wrong. By sharing the praise and taking the blame when things go well, and then taking the blame when things go wrong, you actually create extreme loyalty and commitment. Leaders, and I was so grateful to have found this, is that they are just normal people. They never have larger than life personalities, and they're not celebrities. They are usually just normal people, and usually they come from within the organization. So they tend to come from within the organization because their greatness comes from quiet, hard work rather than once-off acts of heroism. So how do I describe a level 5 leadership very succinctly? It's a highly capable individual who's a contributing team member, a competent manager, and an effective leader with a strong will and a lot of humility. Patrick, how do you become a level? What can we do? If you say, I'm not born a leader, I can be made a leader, I can learn to be a leader, what must I do?
So Nikki, in terms of becoming a level 5 leader, let's look at some tools that we can actually share in that regard. So to become a level 5 leader, you need to develop your professional skills, your emotional intelligence. Let's see some of the steps that you can actually follow. So the first thing is develop humility. It's good to be ambitious, but it's better to be ambitious and what? Yet humble. Tools which can help you to understand the importance of humility, they include: you can develop your humility by developing your emotional intelligence, which can make you a more well-rounded leader. Like what you spoke of, that humility was what separated. Number 2, you need to develop loyal followers. So one thing that you find is that in terms of level 5 leaders, they are committed, their followers, they are very much committed and deeply loyal. To develop a team that is good loyalty, what can you do? Number 1, you can take responsibility. When things don't go to plan, you look in the mirror and you take the blame for yourself. That is one thing that you find less in leaders. Some leaders, you find that they are quick to throw their followers under the bus. But great leaders, what do? You take ownership. Great leaders, what do? Also use reward power. When things go according to plan, you need to deflect attention from yourself. Give the praise to your team. Look what a great leader is doing. When things go bad, they say, it's me, it's me. When things go right, they say, it's you. Recruit from within. Number 3, you need to recruit from within. So level 5 leaders, they recruit from within. It is difficult for you to find level 5 leaders from outside the organization. Outside the organization, you tend to find level 4 leaders. People who shout at their own successes. But when you find level 5 leaders, typically, they reach their position through quiet and hard work. So you know what? They make the work talk for themselves. Number 4, you need to develop your drive. Level 5 leaders, they are exceptionally driven to achieve the results. So they set clear, but yet challenging, and you know what? Exciting goals that can help you develop your drive. Number 5, you actually need to lead with passion. Level 5 leaders are passionate in what they do. They develop your passion and make sure you've got a clear and compelling vision of where you want to go with your team.
So it comes all down to humility and will, and you might not be ready to hear that right now, but if you think about it, then or at some point you'll realize, or you will recognize it. You can say, sure, that person doesn't look like a big, larger than life leader, but I can see he or she has a lot of humility and that extreme drive and will to achieve. So that is what we, in our opinion, and which not just us, also Jim Collins, believe makes a level 5 leader. So my next section is about grit. It is one of my favorite sections. It is, I have to acknowledge Bill Hybels, who taught me everything about grit. We are all at different places in our leadership journey, and we define leadership. I like to draw this when I confuse myself and I'm unsure what is leadership. I always say it is taking a group of people from here to there. It is as easy as that. That is, for me, what leadership is about. We define leadership as moving people, a cause, or an organization from here to there. It's moving people from one reality to a different reality. We are all at different phases of our leadership development. At the bottom, you're probably asking, can I do it? Some of you are asking, can I sustain it? A small percentage of you are near the finish and you're asking, can I take this across the line? Can I transition this organization or this role to its next leader? And what is the next for me? And 10% of you, I always find, are seriously thinking about quitting. I don't want this leadership journey. I am not going to do this anymore. An even larger percentage of you are in desperate need of a jolt of inspiration. You're called upon to be leaders and be leaders. So the stakes are sky high. I always like to start with the permission to play values. What are the basic non-negotiables of good leaders? These are, as I said, humility, and my favorite one is respect. Before we say anything else, we must recognize that these two elements are foundational. The highest value for a leader is humility. And on top of that, you need respect. You need to acknowledge that everybody, those who are different to us and those who believe differently, all deserve respect. This combination of humility and respect. So Jim Collins says it's humility and will, and Bill Hybels says it's humility and respect. But it enables you to learn everything about leadership that you need to learn. Bill Hybels calls it the intangibles of leadership. Leaders at the highest level of leadership possess subtle, more advanced traits of leadership than all its peers. It is these leadership intangibles that set them apart. We will unpack one of the aspects of leadership that packs a huge punch but doesn't get a lot of press, and that's grit. It's grit, just that ability to keep at it. It's why people with lesser talent and lesser IQ often outachieve their peers. One of the greatest predictors of success in any walk of life has to do with grit, which is defined as passion and perseverance over the long haul. Grit is unrelenting long-term tenacity, steely determination demonstrated over decades. It's the willingness to utilize every last drop of human effort to move something ahead and then to keep on expending that time and effort until you cross the finish line. Gritty people don't play hurt, they don't whimper or waver or quit, ever. They expect progress to be difficult, yet believe to the core of their being that they can overcome whatever obstacle stands in their way. I have this little story, The Little Engine That Could. It's a story about a long train of locomotive carts that's filled with toys for a village of small children who are toyless. What happens is that the locomotive realizes there's a small mountain between his current location and that of the children. The locomotive loses confidence and says, I'll never make it up the mountain. So I'll try to find a more powerful locomotive to take my place. So this locomotive approaches several larger locomotives, all of whom could have done the job quite easily, but none of them are willing. They all have excuses and they don't really care whether the kids on the other side of the mountain gets those toys or not. Just as it looks like all hope is lost, an undersized engine that was only ever designed to move empty rail cars around the station shows up and learns that all the kids on the other side of the mountain will have no toys unless a willing locomotive signs up for duty. And in a burst of passion, the little locomotive says, I'll do it. All the other locomotives start mocking him. In your dreams, they cry. Undeterred, the little engine backs up and after considerable effort, starts getting the full carts at least to move on the flat surface. But the real test lies ahead and everybody knows it. There is a huge mountain separating the kids from the toys. Well, we all know what happens next. The little engine soon realizes that every bit of horsepower will be required, so it applies maximum effort for this challenge. As it approaches the huge incline, it's huffing and it's puffing and it's groaning and it's straining, and it begins the chant that everybody knows. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And with steely, unremitting determination, the little engine makes it up the mountain. And the interesting part that most of us forget, as it descends into the village, he says with a satisfying smile, I thought I could, I thought I could, I thought I could. That's grit. And with steely, unremitting determination, the little engine makes it up the mountain. It's a matter of life? No. It matters in life, and it especially matters in leadership. Grit is a differentiator. Those with ample amounts of it will predictably achieve more than those with less of it, regardless of talent and IQ. This has been observed all throughout history. So I'll tell you about Abraham Lincoln, one of the most celebrated leaders in American history. He has suffered bankruptcy twice in his 20s. He was defeated for political office shortly thereafter. Right after that, the woman he loved and planned to marry died, and it caused him near emotional breakdown. He lost congressional races twice and was defeated in a race for US Senate at the age of 47. But Abraham Lincoln had grit, and when finally selected at age 52, he tapped into that unremitting resolve and put an end to slavery and put the divided country together again. And such is the power of grit. Nelson Mandela had it, Gandhi had it, Luther King had it as well. The question today is, do you have it? Because if you do, the chances of you getting the toys over the mountain is just so much higher than if you don't. It's one of those essential intangibles of leadership. Now, if you're curious about how gritty you really are, there is a grit assessment you can take online. It's free of charge. You'll get a grit score and you compare your score to others. The bigger question is, can grit be developed? And the answer is good and bad. Yes, it can be developed in anybody who wants it. The bad news is the arch enemy of grit is ease. So if your parents turned over heaven and earth to make life easy for you, to make it challenge-free and stress-free, they didn't do you any favors regarding grit. Grit development demands difficulty. It demands a series of various size mountains to pull the train over so that when you get to the top after much effort, you can say, I thought I could, I thought I could, I thought I could. Going over those various sets of mountains set you up better for from a confidence perspective for your next mountain. Grit grows every time you prove to yourself that you can overcome an obstacle with tenacity and perseverance. So Bill Hybels tells the story of his son wanting a dog more than life itself. After a while, Bill relented and got him a dog. At some point, they decided the dog must be outside more. So he bought a 20-inch stake that had to be driven into the hard, packed soil outside. Your dog, your job, he said to his son. And after 3 or 4 half-hearted hammer strikes, the son said, Dad, it's too hard, you do it. And he says, but I decided to drive a different stake into his life. He said to his son, he's got all day to watch him do it. He knows the soil is hard, he knows it's tough, but it's your dog, so you do it. And he said he doesn't care how long it takes or how hard it is. It involved a tantrum or two and lots of tears. This task was a grit developer. It made him, he said, I made him stay with it until the task was done. Bill says he set many difficult tasks for his children. Both of them score very high on the grit test, and he truly believes they're going to one day turn around and thank him. So the arch enemy of grit is ease. To grow grit, which is a very important intangible of leadership, you can set yourself difficult tasks. This is one reason why the most elite leaders often put themselves they push themselves in physical ways, like rock climbing or aggressive kiteboarding or fearless windsurfers. They overcome physical challenges as a way of developing grit. So you can do that to develop. If you develop grit in one area of your life, it flows over into other areas as well. So another way you can develop grit is we also see that in leaders is they volunteer for extra work, or just in your position where you are, you can volunteer for extra tasks and then demonstrate steely determination in carrying it out. Jack Welch says, he used to say to his staff, when your supervisor gives you an assignment to do, whatever you do, don't just do it. Don't deliver the task at hand. Over-deliver. And over-deliver every time. In our context, that's saying show grit. So one final observation about the power of grit. When senior leaders demonstrate grit in their day-to-day leadership. What I mean is when senior leaders push themselves hard, when they over-deliver in their own contribution to the collective effort, when they hang tough through a crisis, team members notice and they develop an appetite for more grit in themselves. They start pushing themselves to the next level, and eventually the whole organization gets grittier, and gritty organizations are unstoppable. So the point is, if you care at all about getting the toys over the mountain, if you care at all about whatever mission your life or your organization is about, you simply must develop grit. It's an absolute essential intangible of leadership. That's such a strong message. So in conclusion, we have looked at what a natural born leader looks like. Open-minded, offering advice, positive, good listener. You could be all of those things. We have seen that the way we work has changed, and that we require a new style of leadership, one that doesn't hold onto power, one that collaborates, one that has empathy and is mentally strong. We have discussed level 5 leadership, how it's not about being bigger than life, but it's about being humble and having the will. And finally, we looked at grit, the importance of developing grit, how to develop grit by setting yourself challenging goals, and finally, how any staff member can display grit by taking on more work and over-delivering every time.